The death penalty has been debated for centuries due to its economic, scientific, and religious implications. The modern debate over the death penalty and capital punishment as a whole led us to our team thesis of: the death penalty is an ineffective way of punishing someone who has failed to abide by the law. The question that guided our research was, is the death penalty a humane and effective practice? Now on to Rose with the team solution.
So for our team solution, I believe that we should abolish the death penalty to make the education better at an early age to lower violence and crimes in our country. Researchers have found that better education and community would increase the number of high school graduates and decrease people from joining gangs to make a living. The limitations to the source is that we could not ensure closure to the public, to the person that had been affected by the criminal. However, the implication of the source is that death penalty costs more than life without parole. From looking through the economical lens, I found that the death penalty is more expensive for taxpayers and does not increase public safety and has no effect in decreasing the murder rate in our nation. States with capital punishment waste excessively on it and causes more damage to the country by wasting the money insufficiently. In an article by Philip Cook, a professor of economics and psychology at Duke University, found that North Carolina wastes around $8.1 million a year just on capital cases. In a research study by Lee Bannon, a licensed lawyer in a few states, found that a death penalty in California will cost around additional $90,000 just for a case, while life without parole would only cost around $34,000 a year. Therefore, a death penalty case takes 10 to 15 years, in which death row inmates turn out to be innocent, pass away, or commit suicide before their execution. Continuing on, most Americans who support the death penalty believe that the death penalty would lower the murder rate in the nation. However, Huffington Post included a 2000 FBI crime report of 2016 of 17,250 murders, in which 5.3 murder rate per 100,000 people. And Johnny Torres, a contributor, reports that 25 states have the lowest murder rate. Out of the 25 states, 14 don't have the death penalty and 11 do. As I continue on to this graph from Death Penalty Information Center, it shows that from 1996 to 2016, our murder rate in non-death penalty states, which is the lighter color, orange or pink, that has been lower for 26 years than death penalty states. Now I'll be passing it on. As a solution, American Civil Liberty Union included that abolishing the death penalty in all states will save the time of courts, prosecuting attorneys, defense counsel, juries, and courtrooms, and law enforcement inferior. Bannon also found that New Jersey has saved around $1.46 million a year just by abolishing the death penalty. The limitation to the source is that it's more liberal. The implication of the source is that the organization's mission is to defend and to preserve all individual rights and liberties guaranteed by the law, guaranteed by the country, by the Constitution and law in the United States. Now I'll be passing it on to Alex with the scientific lens.
Thank you, Rose. I will be discussing the scientific lens. My research led me to my thesis of lethal injection has not been tested enough to be used as a form of capital punishment. This is due to the complex chemicals being manufactured by compound pharmacies and the chance for a botched execution. The complex chemicals used in lethal injections are unpredictable due to where they are being manufactured. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, compound pharmacies combine, mix, or alter drugs. Traditionally, compounding is used to meet the specific needs of an individual patient in response to a prescription. This means if a patient has an allergy to one of the ingredients in the drugs, a compound pharmacy would alter the drug so that they won't have an allergic reaction to it. These pharmacies are not fit to be creating lethal injection drugs because they only focus on altering drugs for specific patients rather than creating drugs from scratch. Multiple drug injections create problems because they create more opportunities for something to go wrong. This is why historically, one-drug lethal injections have been the most successful. 2 and 3 drug lethal injections have also been used, but have not been as successful as one-drug injections. Daniel Holland, a medical writer and graduate from the University of Connecticut School of Pharmacy, calls the 3-drug mix triple cocktail because of its unpredictable nature. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, botched executions are those involving unanticipated problems or delay that cause, at least arguably, unnecessary agony for the prisoner that reflects gross incompetence of the executioner. This is normally caused by unexpected reactions to lethal injection drugs that can leave patients heavy-chested, gasping, choking, their backs arch off the gurney for an unamount time, etc. My solution to the scientific lens is to halt the use of lethal injections due to the fact that they have complex chemicals that cannot always be predicted. The limitation with this solution is that many states see lethal injection as the most ethical way to carry out the death penalty, regardless of the implications I just mentioned. The implications of this solution is that no one else will have to suffer a chemically botched execution. I will now pass it on to Rebecca with the religious lens.
To begin, my research has led me to my thesis statement that there are many forms of religion around the world, and it is important to understand each of their viewpoints before deciding a solution to capital punishment. Dr. Jasser Auda, a professor of Islamic law, has stated that the Sharia law is one that requires its followers to make decisions that benefit themselves and their society. BBC.org has said that the Buddhist religion is also very similar to the Sharia law. A Buddhist cannot cause mental or physical harm to anyone, no matter the harm that they have done to that individual. Father Gino Concetti, a Roman Catholic priest, has said that despite one's wrongdoings, the criminal does not lose his fundamental right to live. He also says that human life is sacred and inviolable. This has led me to my solution. Dr. Jasser Auda and Father Gino Concetti have said that human life is valuable. Abolishing the death penalty will respect the criminal's religious rights and their right to life. The implication to this would be that the government does not care about a criminal's religious rights, and they would rather take revenge on them and murder them to please the rest of the country. Now I'll pass it on to Paige with our counterpoint.
Hello, my name is Paige Haldeman, and I will be speaking on the ethical lens. While my group members addressed the scientific, economic, and religious controversy over capital punishment, I will be addressing the opposing viewpoint in support of the death penalty. My research has led me to believe that when debating the ethics of the death penalty, one must not deny there is a fundamental difference between the cost of an innocent human life and the capital punishment of a criminal in accordance with the law. The majority of my studies were based on normative ethics and how we should place value on actions in our society. Paul Kleinman, a graduate of the University of Wisconsin, describes normative ethics as the moral guideline of our actions. Our society is worth as much as the people in it. A society can only be as stable as its people. And a society that is willing to protect individuals with corrupt normative ethics is one that has fallen to a moral end. Capital punishment must be given to a convict because it is deserved. Furthermore, the reform theory of punishment, as explained by Arnold S. Kaufman, a professor of philosophy at UCLA, suggests that an offender's crime should be reflected in the punishment given. With this being said, one's punishment should be no more or less severe than the anguish of their victim. Furthermore, capital punishment enables society to advocate the right of an innocent human life. Capital punishment is the only way we as a society can restore justice after a crime of such severity has been committed. After reviewing my research, I have come to the conclusion that our society must begin to view capital punishment for what it truly is, condemnment for lavish actions. If the system is to continue its justice, it is crucial to ensure that those who willingly violate the law will not benefit from those who live by the law. However, it can be understood that the limiting factors to this solution would be disregarding the human right to live. These are our works cited pages.
Okay, folks, let me go around here and ask each of you a question. Becca, we're going to start with you. All right. So, how did you decide to include Paige's perspective or lens in the conclusions of your presentation?
Well, religion and ethics usually come together, so it was hard to keep ours separate even though she's our counterclaim. So I didn't really want to involve ethics in my presentation or my research, just so we could keep it separate.
Okay, thanks. Rose, in the future, what change would you make to your group's norms and how would you expect to improve the team's presentation?
So I feel like with our norms that we had to be more we should have more communication because it would help us present more better and have more knowledge on each other's thing. And I think we can improve this by just like being ahead of our deadlines and just going ahead by by just being by knowing each other's lens differently.
Okay, thanks. Paige, in what way did you improve your ability to work with the group as a result of the project?
I feel like specifically Rebecca and I worked close together, and that gave me many different perspectives. We were able to work closely together, closer to the deadline, to understand each other and to go review our work. And I felt like personally with Rebecca, it was, as she said, a hard topic to go through, especially because we kind of overlapped, even though I had the counterclaim. So it was important that we talked together and that it gave us kind of a solution that we could all agree on for a team conclusion.
Okay. And then Alex, what's the strongest counter-argument then to the solution or conclusion your team identified?
The strongest counter-argument would have to be Paige's entire sort of perspective of where she came from with her paper of she really took a different look at the death penalty as a whole, and getting into ethics, she really just broke down sort of a side that I feel like a lot of people don't normally take a look at when they discuss the death penalty, and that when talking about someone's life, she argued that you have to value it different than someone who hasn't committed a crime.
Okay. All right, folks, thank you.